Hello. Yeah, this episode is not our usual Thursday life. October is Domestic Violence and Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. Trigger warning: if you have ever experienced, have witnessed anything like that, just be cautious that we might talk about some details, but we will try to keep it light and just go in general, share with you the best way how to move on after the domestic abuse, domestic violence, whatever relationships you have, if you experienced or witnessed when you are growing up. So, this will be just a conversation about bringing awareness that this is happening. It's happening to the people that you probably know, but they are not open about it. Okay, so let's bring to our studio Alaysha, the warrior queen. So, today we're going to talk about very big topic, and I know that we spoke to you earlier about doing that in October. Probably we should mention that it's a for some it has trigger warnings. That's something that we do not advertise, but we have to bring awareness to this. We need to talk more about that, and as difficult as it is, Um, we need more women and men to talk about their experiences. So today we have Alaysha as a guest on our Coaching Couch TV. Please, Alaysha, welcome and few words about what you do, how you do it, and why you do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Daria, for inviting me to the coaching couch. And I'm just so humble and honored to be one of your guests today. So, as we're recording this, we are ending Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's on a national and international level. So, October is the awareness month in and of itself. And my name is Alaysha, the Warrior Queen. And the reason why I call myself that is because God gave me a vision to be able to create this idea of a 1 million strong warrior women survivors thriving around the world. And this global movement is really dedicated and committed to creating a future without violence for women and girls around the world. So, my message is just to empower and inspire survivors to really, you know, create the future that they want. Living or rebuilding their life after abuse or trauma. And so I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist. However, I help women go from surviving to barely surviving to thriving. And that's what it's all about.
It's amazing what you do. What happened in your life? Why it became the reason you're actually doing this?
So, as you know, Daria, most of the time when people take up some type of mission or vision or calling, it's because they've gone through it themselves. So, me, myself, I'm a two-time survivor of domestic abuse. One was 20 years ago when I was married. It looked very different than the one situation that I had in 2018. Uh, what I would say is because of the first situation when I was married, I became stuck for 15 years just in what I call an emotional purgatory because I was just stuck mentally, right? Nothing physically was actually happening to me at the time. But because of the trauma that I experienced, it left me really kind of in fear, just not having any direction, blame, shame, guilt, pain, hurt. And then those were all disempowering and negative thoughts, but I didn't realize that they were had such a stronghold on me. And until 2016, that's when I had my spiritual awakening and realized that enough was enough, that I needed to get out of the stupor, right? Because I was like a walking zombie in my opinion. And I use the masculine system of chasing, right? Going after my degree. So I do have my master's level. I was just on the verge of going for a PhD. I work in higher education administration. And come this November, it would be 24 years in that space. And however, I wanted to move up. I wanted to move into executive leadership. So I started to develop myself personally and professionally. So going after trying, getting promotions and what do I do next to move up? Or and in that case, in 2016, I realized there were no more opportunities within that job. So I said, okay, I'm going to hire a professional career coach. And when I did that, I realized that again, using the masculine system of going and getting, right? Always chasing, always hustling. And three sessions into that, we met online, we met virtually, and that was again 2016. 3 sessions in, I broke down because I realized that's not at all what I wanted. And even though at the time I couldn't quite articulate what I needed to do, God was already calling me to a higher place in Him and to do heart centered work and to give back. And most importantly, to heal myself because I had never really truly 100% healed my own trauma. So that was the calling. That happened in January. This lady said to me, if you're not doing the thing that God has called you to do, not only are you not helping and healing yourself, but you're not helping and healing the people you're meant to impact. And Daria, that second part really resonated with me because that's when I realized I'm meant to do more. I just didn't know what yet, but I was like, I'm meant to do
Mhm.
something to give back. And because, my heart was longing to contribute, right? Um, I was not in alignment with what God had for me. And that's why things was not going the way in which I thought it should go, right? In my profession. So it started there. And then that spiritual awakening, it's like God stopped me in my tracks. And that's when He was telling me that you're going to be a leader of an empowered army of women from around the world. Right? Women, I didn't know what that meant. I was like, empower army of women. I'm not going into the military, right? I'm just thinking, like, okay, God, I hear you. I don't know. I'm going to have faith, but I really don't know what this is about. So I just said
Mhm.
yes to His will and way. And what happened in that next moment is what really defined what I was to do. And so I always like to do this, like this carousel motion around my head because that's how I saw the women. I saw the women circling around my head, Daria. I could see that there was women from many different cultures, ages, religions. Like you could just see the tonalities on their skin, but they were all crying out, broken, battered, and bruised. And I felt like I can just reach into that realm and save them all. And that's when I knew that was the moment I knew that I had to do this work to help other survivors to heal, to empower them, and inspire them to become what God is truly calling them to be, and take that mess and turn it into a message. So, fast forward 2020, God called me one more time and said, "Do you hear me now?" Right, and that's when the Warriors Thriving movement was birthed. It was already in my spirit. He was already planting the seeds, and I knew at that moment that it was time to thrive. He had already given me that word, so it's totally in alignment. So moving from victim to survivors, or surviving, and then moving from barely surviving to striving to thrive. And that's where we are now. My global movement is Warriors Thriving, and it's for women warriors who are survivors that's ready to thrive. That's all it really is about. And to take up, their torch. The spark of courage has been lit, and it's going to go around the world. This flame, right? It's going to spread like wildfire around the world. So we're saying 1 million strong, and we're going to do this because our tribe is already growing. And it's just amazing to see that when you have a vision and you have the power of one, right? And you're dedicated to that vision and passionate about it, people will flock to you. And that's what's happening now. People are flocking to the vision, flocking to my warrior women survivors after trauma or abuse tribe, and they are ready for change, Daria. So I'm so excited to be the igniter and to be the champion of warrior women survivors that are going to be thriving.
There is a fire about you. You can feel that it's a really passionate subject for you as well. And I have to agree, when you were talking about putting yourself through work, through career, without actually healing yourself first. A lot of women, they don't like to understand what happened to them. It's better to bury everything inside and just concentrate on something totally different. Throw yourself into career or some projects. But if we don't deal with what we live through, it's gonna catch up with us eventually.
Yes, yes. And I love how you said that, catch up, because that's exactly what happens. And you truly run into a brick wall, right? And a term that I learned from one of my coaches is called power paradox, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of us as women, if, like you said, if we don't heal, it catches up to us, because what happens, we realize that we're winning in every other area of our life except this one area of relationship. And it's like, why? We are strong, powerful women, but when it comes to relationships, it's a power paradox, because we're like, on one end we're strong, but when it comes to relationships, we feel weak, we feel broken, and we don't feel worthy. And I was feeling like that, right? And I was like, why can't I get these relationships right? But that was because, like you said, it caught up to me, Daria, and
Mhm.
I needed to heal. I finally had run into a brick wall. And God was saying, enough is enough to me. As much as I was saying, enough is enough with this, like, He's like, I'm calling you for a higher place. I'm calling you because you have a destiny. And I didn't believe I was worthy enough to take this on, Daria. I was like, why
Mm.
me? I can't even get my own life right, right? That was my thinking. And I'm so glad that I learned about personal and professional development and working with coaches and mentors to help me move my shift, right? It's a shift in your
Mhm.
identity, because at this point no one's doing anything to you. It's the war in your own head. And that's why I call it warriors thriving, because we are fighting against principles that are unknown and principles that are in our head. No one's doing anything to you at this point except you. It's your way of
Mhm.
thinking, it's how you identify yourself. And if you continue to see yourself in a negative light, in a disempowering way, that's why you're going to continue to have the trauma. You keep looking back at the past as opposed to looking forward to what you create. And that is the greatest thing, Daria, that I've ever learned in terms of how to put the past behind me, is to create the future that I wanted. And that's why, you could feel the fire, you could feel the passion, because I'm starting to unleash. Listen, it was already there. No one put this in me. It was
Mhm.
already there, and it's already in you, listeners. It's already in you. You just have to dig deep, and you need help getting it out, because you have greatness in you. So I'm just so honored that someone saw that in me, was able to help me pull it all out, because now it's like the vision that God has given me. I now feel worthy to do it, to ignite, to champion the cause, because it's not about me anymore. It's about the people that are meant to impact, serve, heal, deliver. And then when I saw it like that, I said, oh my God, it's time for me to walk in my purpose. This is my divine purpose and calling. It's time for me to help these people that was reaching out for me. So when you don't make it about you, and you make it about giving and helping and healing others, you don't even see yourself anymore as being unworthy. You see yourself as someone who can give and who can make a difference. Yes, thank you.
Oh, wow. Wow. Alaysha, what is the process? How you meeting these new people, new women? How you helping them?
So, one of the ways I started a tribe on Facebook, it's called the Warrior Women Thriving After Abuse or Trauma. So, the title alone, just Warrior Women Thriving, right? That people are kind of um, drawn to that title. The fact that I call myself the Warrior Queen, people are saying, I need to meet this woman who's calling herself the Warrior Queen and creating this tribe of sisterhood, right? It's a sisterhood that's going to amplify, edify, and validate you and to hold your hand and keep you accountable to your dreams. So that's the
Mhm,
Facebook tribe that I've created. I go on live and I just speak, Daria, in different groups, also different domestic violence groups or other groups that has anything to do with relationships and overcoming uh, abuse or trauma. I go in and I add value. I don't say, hey, come to my tribe, but I add value where people
mhm,
look me up and say, hey, this is something that's very new and refreshing and something that I want to be a part of. And when I talk about the 1 million strong global movement of warrior women survivors thriving, that really moves people because they say, listen, even if I'm not there yet, I want to be there. So I want to be a part of this movement. And I think the passion, right, that I bring, because I understand the power of one. I keep saying that all the time. It only takes one to ignite the fire, but then it's
mhm,
going to cause a chain reaction. And as we go through every day, I just come on and share just something. I've been more vulnerable, more transparent about my own past. And that's what it's about, too. If I'm going to be the leader, people need to know who I am. They need to feel like they can trust me and that they like me enough to say, I want to be a part of, I want to follow. I want to be in this tribe. And that's what's happening because I'm giving them me, right? Being
mhm,
authentic, being vulnerable, and being open and transparent to give them all of me to say, listen, I didn't start off here. And every day it's still a war in my mind because the enemy will come in like the storm and try to take away the only thing that you can actually control, and that is your mindset. So
mhm,
every day I have to reinvent myself. You are the warrior queen and you can do this. And there's women waiting on you, wanting to be, a part of this movement and needing, more importantly, needing to be healed. Like at a certain age, right? We're both, 40s, 50s. It's starting to catch up at
mhm,
this stage in our life where you want to give your life needs to be meaningful. Your life needs to be, fulfillment. And that's only in what you can give and what you can create and how you can impact the world and make a difference. And that's what's pulling me. It's a magnet right now. And I said, eventually I'm going to be retiring from, higher education because
mhm,
this is pulling me so strong like a magnet that it is a must now. This must become my life's work and my legacy that I'm going to leave behind because this 1 million strong, I know it's going to grow, but I said I want to just start here 1 million strong because it's something that people can wrap their minds around to be 1 million. Because, ultimately we're going to go for the billion and then we're going to move up. Because it's not about just us as women. And I know when we talked initially, you said, what about the men? Well, the men are standing in solidarity with this mission and they will be a part of this conversation. So ultimately, we will be working with men, but
mhm,
we just started with the women for right now because that's what that's what I was
mhm,
led to
mhm,
start off at.
mhm. Yeah, that's true. We did have initial conversation where we talked that it's not only women suffer from domestic abuse, domestic violence, but men as well. But because men don't usually go and report it, statistically, it's showing very less number. But yeah, it's happening,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Mm.
When we talked to you first time and we shared our own stories, he shared yours with me, I shared mine with you. We also talked about how sometimes when you get in a new life after your previous experience, yeah, there is, in the beginning there is shame, in the beginning there is, once you realize what happened with you, and then you're trying to move on. But again, if you haven't faced reality of what actually happened to you, when you dismiss in it, it's a really bad thing. Face it, realize it. It's not your fault that something happened to you. It's absolutely not your fault, but it did happen. Accept it, move on. For example, now, uh, 10 years later, I have a great family. I have support that I always wanted, needed, or didn't even know that I needed. And now I'm not even thinking about what happened to me, because I think it's, in a place that I am now, I think it will be a bit disrespectful even to my family, to my husband, to live in a past in those dark times. So I'm looking at it like my previous life,
Hmm.
or a story that I've read, I've heard, because I don't even want to, because once you start remembering, once you start thinking, it takes you into dark places where you
Yeah.
initially was.
Yes.
It's really hard. But it doesn't mean that you have to forget it. As you said, Alaysha, it's a important thing to talk about, because women, they might be going through this right now, and they will not speak up because they feel shame, because they still believe that, or I'm successful, I'm strong woman, and this cannot be happening to me. But
Hmm.
believe us, it can happen to strong, successful women as well. It's not
Yeah.
just or people who's a bit naive and they just follow the dream for Prince Charming, and then they're getting into this kind of situation in family. No, it happens all over the place. The
Yes.
important thing is just, it's not your fault, and you need to look for help. So, Alaysha, could you please share with me what it takes to be the warrior queen? How to become the warrior queen like you?
Yes. So, exactly what you said, Daria. Again, facing your fears, right? Facing your past and owning that yeah, this happened to me, but it does not determine who I am today.
It doesn't
It
define you.
it does
Exactly.
not define you. And knowing that, one thing you specifically brought out in terms of who does this affect, right? Strong women get impacted as well, because it really, what happens is you let your guard down when
Mm.
you're in love, right? And not knowing the signs, the red flags, you kind of, you feel it, your intuition and your gut, and we don't tend to listen because we're in love. No, I can be the savior. I can,
Yeah.
and that was
I'll
me. I was,
change that man. I'll change
yes,
him.
yes, that was
He'll
the
change
second.
for me. Yes.
Yes, that was the second one, the second
Hmm.
situation. I was like,
Hmm.
no, I can, I'm gonna, I can save this person. But, it's like taking on a project, and we
Hmm.
don't need to do that. And everything in your spirit is telling you that it's not the right person. You are not equally yoked with this person. However, because some of us once loved so much, right, and go into a state of desperation that you just accept and allow any and everything. And I'm not picking on you because I did it too. So I'm just telling you, it,
Hmm.
it happens because I wanted love, I wanted the family so much that you allow certain things. But what it takes is to face your fear first and foremost, if especially if it's something that's already happened to you. If you're in the situation right now, you have to realize that you need to come out of it, and you have to be courageous enough to go and seek help, right? And that's
Hmm.
what Daria was talking about. The hotline for here, I know nationally in the States, is 1-800-799-SAFE, safe. And, I don't know what the hotline might be for you guys, Daria. Do you
I
guys
will
have
write
one?
it down on the video as well. Yes, I will. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first place. Reach out for help, right? If you're in the situation now, or if you're at a point at a crossroads where you need to make a decision, you've realized you're in it, but you need a safety plan. This is not something that you do alone. You don't go at this alone, and you truly need a safety plan. So work with the domestic violence hotlines and find out like what can they do to help you leave that situation. Now, if you're already out, that was me. I was already out and just kind of stuck. Again, facing the past, right? You must face it, because if you, I know me, I suppressed it for 15 years, and it caught up with me, as Daria said, and I hit a wall and I couldn't do anything else until I addressed it. So you need healing, right? You actually might need a real therapist or counselor. And when you're ready, you can see someone like Daria or myself to work on coaching you through what's next, right? Rebuilding your life after trauma or abuse. So that was essentially 6 years ago in 2016. I realized that I had to heal, Daria. I had not taken that
Mhm.
on yet to really face, you know, and address what I've been through. But when I did that, I realized there was no more, like, it's called blind spots, right? Once the
Mhm.
blind spot was opened up, I was like, oh my God, I was holding on to this stuff, right? For 15 years, 15 years, my friend. And it didn't have anything to do with the person anymore. It was
Mhm.
me. I was
Mhm.
in my own jail, hell, whatever you want to call it, in my head, right? Of my own value and my own worth. And once I realized that, it opened up so much opportunity for me to shift my thinking. So you ask, how do you get out? You have to get the healing and get to a place where you shift your thinking, because it's the identity that you carry. You're letting your past define you. And when we do that, we never are going to feel that we're worthy, we have any value, we're any good, we're enough, we're beautiful, we're this, we're that. And you can go down the gamut, right? That list will never end until you're able to transform your thinking. That's the mindset shift, and focus on what is good about you, and realizing
Mhm.
that you have overcome something. So you're very strong, right? And even though you don't think you are, you are. If you're still standing today, then you are very strong. And then there's something in you, right, that needs to come out, that message from all the mess that you've gone through. And that's when we say, speak your truth, activate your voice and speak your truth. And I understand what you're saying, Daria. You don't want to keep dragging the past, but sometimes we just have to admit it right in the beginning, because that is the way that we heal, when we actually speak it. We don't have to
Mhm.
dwell on it, but you start from the moment of transformation, because that's why I generally start from 6 years ago, when I realized that I was in this 15-year zombie like state. And then all of a sudden enough was enough, and I had a desire to transform. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I sought the help and it came. Yeah, I was talking about, for me, like, it took the program called Landmark International, and it was about relationships. And that's where I first got the opening and the ability, right? The strength and the courage to go back and restore, because that's the word God was giving me, restore the relationship that those relationships that was broken. And at the time, the
Mhm.
most important one was the one with my ex-husband, right? Because
Mhm.
it just had been a long battle in the courts. Even after the divorce, 15 years was in the courts. And I think that's why I was in that state of mind, because I was like, this thing should have been over. So having the courage to forgive, that's how I got
Mhm.
out, Daria.
Mhm.
Having that courage to forgive. And there's a process to that. And, I help the women in my program walk through that, because that journey to freedom, it truly starts with forgiveness. And that is the thing that I didn't think I would ever be able to do. But once I did it, I felt liberated. I felt free. And that's the freest I've ever felt in my life because I was no longer holding on to that past, that hurt, shame, blame, pain. And I was able to be accountable for my own actions moving forward, right? Because I
Mhm.
blamed him and other failed
Mhm.
relationships. I blamed them, right? But I had to look inward and to say, I need to hold myself accountable, first of all. And then there were some things that I realized that I needed to do. One, very important, was setting boundaries. I didn't have
Mhm.
boundaries set because I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, anything goes, I'll make it work. No. Once I learned that I set boundaries and standards, that's setting the expectation for, anyone to come in your life to say, can I meet those standards or not? Right. And if they can't meet them, they will fall off by the wayside by themselves. And that's what I've been doing lately. Like people are just not measuring up. See, I was trying to keep fitting the round peg in the square, how you
Yeah.
said, the square
Yeah.
peg in the
Trying
round
to fit
hole.
in, not making other people to fit your surrounding purposes and boundaries. You were trying to fit in. Yes.
Yes, I was either me trying to fit in or trying to fit them in, knowing that it
Mhm.
wasn't a match, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't
Yeah.
two round circles going into each other. It was
Mhm.
uh
Mhm.
me trying to put the square peg in the round circle. So it didn't
Because
fit.
you can fix the square. Yeah.
Well, I thought I could, right?
Yeah, of course.
I
That's
thought
what
I
we do.
could. I thought I could because here I come. I'm the savior. I'm taking on a project. I can fix this.
Mhm.
But no, you can't. And you have to realize that. And we as women, especially when we're talented as we are, we think we can fix these broken men, and we can't, right? We really can't. They need to go through their own process. But when you see
Mhm.
the red flags, you need to heed to them. Your intuition will never fail you. And that's what I want to say. Like, you need to heed to your intuition. Seriously.
Mhm. That's your gut feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alaysha, when we are talking about DVDA, we always talking about partners, but can we just mention that there are kids also while they're seeing, while they're witnessing this, it's really hard for them when they grow,
Yeah.
when they develop, when they become in their own, adults, when they have their own families, and this is how they perceive the family, where abuse is okay, and
Yeah.
they will not understand that there is another way, because for them it will be normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new it's a way that they've been raised. Maybe they haven't like received by themselves, but they witnessed it.
Yeah.
So that's also very important to notice. And again, that's not a fault of a child or a woman or a man, a person who's been abused. What Alaysha was saying about taking responsibility, accountability, it doesn't mean start blaming yourself for why it happened. No, it's like doing a gap analysis. So what happened there? Why it happened? Not it's oh I'm so stupid. I didn't notice that. No, I haven't had my boundaries set up. So
Mm-hmm.
that means I need to put some boundaries up. So I will know that whatever person is not agreeing with my boundaries, it means it's not my person. So that's a
Exactly.
way to protect yourself as well from continuing inviting this kind of people in your life who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
respect your boundaries.
That's
So
right.
all this kind of thing, it's not about uh, boiling in the past and blaming yourself and blaming others. It's about just okay, this thing happened. It's a fact. We cannot
Mm-hmm.
go back. We cannot rewrite our past. It happened. Let's analyze step by step what happened there, and then move forward from this point. Also, another thing I would like to say, like you were talking about forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of our Again, one of our topics of our first conversation.
Yes.
How to move on, how to go past this feeling that it's my fault and so on. Forgiveness, it doesn't mean that what happened to you was okay. It's not. Forgiveness is for your own sake,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the heavy luggage that you will be carrying around all your life. Those
Yes.
people probably forgot that they ever did something to you. They live in their happy life. So why do you have to suffer now for what they did to you?
Yes.
So we talked to Alaysha, and rightly so, Alaysha just mentioned forgiveness for them from you, just to release this anchor and move on. Forget about it, because it also takes a lot of your brain space to remember, to
Mm-hmm.
rethink, to what if I didn't do this, what if I've done something differently. It takes your energy, the same energy
It
that you
does.
could be using to think about your future, to plan something, to actually to enjoy the present, the today.
Yes. Yes. Wow. So I want to go back to what you said about the children first,
Yeah.
because I think that's so critical to mention. Sometimes in these abusive homes, if the child grows up in a home that, abuse varies, right, in terms of
Yeah.
how much they get see or witness or what happens, but
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. Any of it is bad. And it what could happen though is that the children can grow up repeating the cycle, right?
Hmm.
And that's why the cycle, it's a generational curse, because like you said, the child thinks it's normal. This is the way
Yeah.
everybody is. This is the way
Yeah.
life is, right?
Yes, and it can be in two different ways, either the victim or the abuser.
Yeah,
That depends
absolutely.
how they've been affected, but they've seen it, they see it normal. So either way goes. Yes.
And I was gonna say that, yeah, because they can grow up being either or, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've been now having my guests on my podcast who have spoken to this in particular. And the one was a lady who was saying that she grew up, not only was she the bully in school, but then as she started to be in relationships, then she became victim, right? So
Mm-hmm.
she ended up
Mm-hmm.
being both. And she didn't know any better. It's what she saw. It was the way of life. It was the way in which they spoke to one another in the household, and certainly the
Mm-hmm.
physical. So it was verbal and physical and emotional. And it's when kids grow up, if they don't get help early, it's going to catch up, like you said, to them in their relationships, and it'll show up in their relationships, right? Because they won't
Mm-hmm.
know how to communicate effectively in the relationship. And that's what it's really all about, this communication and having patience, right? When you're in a relationship, you need to have patience to be able to listen, not just
Mm-hmm.
always talking, but listen and show compassion and seek understanding, as well as seeking to be understood, but seek understanding first. And if each partner gives in that way, then perhaps you can have a very healthy relationship. However, if there was trauma in the past, it needs to be healed. You cannot stack anything on what I call quicksand, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're building relationship and the foundation of that relationship is built on quicksand, meaning any and everything can trigger you, right? So this could be the victim or the abuser. Anything can trigger you, the whole relationship is going to come falling down, because now you're going to act out, right, in the way that it's not going to be healthy. It's going to be very toxic. So when you think about relationship building, you really have to heal your personal trauma first.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can
Mm-hmm.
open, and then you have to love yourself, right? You
Have
can't
a relationship with yourself
have
first,
a
and then
relationship
go
with
and
yourself.
look for other relationships. Yes.
Yes, right? Because you can't build on you can't build without having that relationship healthy, right? Relationship
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
yourself, and having a healthy, positive self-love and outlook about who you are, your identity. So you have to do some inner work first before even thinking about relationships. So as a child grows up, and they find themselves in these relationships, maybe think back, like Daria said, do an assessment, and you might find that it stems from your childhood trauma, something that you might have witnessed or unfortunately experienced. Okay.
Mhm.
So get healing, seek healing, work with a counselor or therapist first so that you can identify that moment where you need to go back in your childhood and do kind of like the regression analysis and then go back and heal that inner child. Then
Mhm.
you can start growing, healthy, happy relationships. Once you've done that with yourself, healed yourself, and have a healthy relationship with self, now you can open up to receive love from others and give, right? Not just receive, but also give love.
Yeah. Yeah. Very strong saying. Yes,
Yeah.
Alicia. When you're talking about God and that He brought you this vision, He introduced you to this vision. What I would
Hmm.
like to just to clarify to say everyone, you can call it as a higher power. You can have another God. You can have it as a calling, whatever the name is for it. But it's a reason for you to do something.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Some
a
people
very
say
strong.
universe too.
Yes, exactly. Universe, some energy, whatever it
Hmm.
is for you, but it's truly yours, comes from your heart. You need to listen to it and you need to follow it because it's it means something. It's
Yeah.
none of us are, in a position to say, or we don't believe in that, we don't believe in that. Whatever you believe in, if it's something that you strongly believe that you should do something for good for others, that's your true calling. That's what you need to follow.
Yeah. So for me, like, I don't try to get people to follow religion
Oh
in a
yeah,
sense
yeah.
like that. But like you said, it's a higher power. It's something bigger than you spiritually, though, in the
Hmm.
spiritual realm. And again, I don't go around saying, hey, you have to follow my God. That's not what this is about. And that's why Daria is trying to say that it could be, the universe or energy or, that next level of thinking where it's on a spiritual realm, though, right? Something bigger than you that's
Hmm.
outside of your being in a sense, right? Because at the end of the day, if some people just say they don't have any belief in anything. So I'm not sure. Like I know when you asked me before, Daria, how can I help those people? I'm not sure that I can, right? And I'm not
Hmm.
meant to help all, however many billions of peoples on this earth. There's people that I'm meant to serve, right? And those are the
Hmm.
people. Those who resonate with what I believe in, with my vision, my mission, and my calling, those are the ones that I'm meant to serve. I'm not no longer trying to fit my square peg in this round hole, or however the saying
Yeah.
goes. I'm no longer trying to fit something that doesn't fit, right? Either making
Hmm.
myself fit
Hmm.
or making them fit into what
Hmm.
I have a vision for. So, and it's okay because there's so many other people out here who may have that vision. So I just want to say, when you're looking for someone to work with as a mentor or coach, you have to go with someone who fits your mission, your vision, who's in alignment with what the thing that you think you are called to do, right? And whatever
Hmm.
that looks like for you. So it's not about religion for me with this, because I think
Hmm.
our common denominator is the fact that we are women survivors, right? Who are now thriving and who want to empower and inspire other survivors to do the same. That to me is the common denominator. So it's a beautiful thing. Like when God showed me that revelation, I
Hmm.
saw women from around the world. So when I saw women from around the world, I knew that that meant it was going to be different cultures, nationalities, religions, and so forth and so on. So my religion has nothing to do with the
Mhm.
movement. However, I stand in who I am and what I believe in my own faith, because without that, I wouldn't be able to do the
Yeah.
work that I'm doing. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that as well, too, a
Mhm.
little bit deeper. But thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this experience is universal. It doesn't mean what race you are, what age you are, where you've been born, what religion or no religion.
Right.
Unfortunately, domestic violence touches everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to say something when you were talking about people who don't believe in anything, and and that you cannot help them. What I want to say, there is a good saying that if the person want to be helped, they will believe in something. At least they will believe in something good. They will want to change. They will
Okay.
want someone to help them. And there is a saying that the person who drowns is the same person that who can help himself.
Mm.
What it means is, when you offer a person that who's drowning, when you offer them help, they want
Hmm.
to they want to want that help.
Okay.
Okay, so it's if the person just drowning and they want to drown, you cannot help them. But if they have that need, they need to be helped, they will help you, they will grab for you, they will reach out for you, so you will be able to help them. So
Yeah.
it's not always about, as you were saying, Alicia, that you can help everyone. You can't. They really need to be in that place that they want to be helped.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad you said that, because even just the other day, I had a client and said, you're going to have to drag me. And I said, I'm not going to
Hmm.
have to do that. You have to be in the place, like you just said, that you want to be helped. I cannot
Hmm.
drag you. You have to be in the space where enough is enough and you're ready to do something about it. Because then and only then I can help you. I'm not dragging anyone along. All I can do is share with, what I have. And if the pain is great enough, right? Because
Hmm.
sometimes there's a difference between pain versus a problem. A problem,
Hmm.
people, it's there, but I can stand it, right? That's, my one of my coaches gave us the analogy of the toothache. In the beginning, you can stand it until the
Hmm.
thing starts throbbing. Now it's a pain that you cannot withstand, right? And you must
Yeah.
do something about it. So until the pain is throbbing enough, that is when I can help you, because that's when you want help, right? And if you're open to receive that help, then here I am. But outside of that, no, I'm not going to drag anybody, because that's not what God gave me, right? You have to
Hmm.
want to be empowered and inspired, and want to grow and expand, and want to come out of hiding. That's the other thing, Daria, I'm noticing. Our sisters are in complete isolation, invisibility, and hiding, and dimming their lights. And I told them the only way I can help you if you're ready to come out of that, right? And it's not going to happen overnight, but you have to be willing, like you said, Daria,
Hmm.
to be willing to be visible, because that's the only way my program is going to work for you, because that's what I do. I take you from invisibility to visibility, to being able to activate your voice and owning your power. You have to come from out of the darkness. And if you're willing to stay in there, in that cave, I'm not coming in until you come out, right? So I can't
Hmm.
help you till you're ready to come to the light. And I love how you said that, because you have to be willing and ready to do so, to change. So throbbing pain, right?
Yeah.
That toothache.
Yeah. I do understand men and women who's, yes, as you said, they just staying in the dark, and they they created their own world of pain that they are every day living in. The
Mm-hmm.
shame, the pain, the blame, all the
Yeah.
aim that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered what I wanted to tell you. When I was in the darkest place, when this thing happened, and after that, after all this realization and blame myself, of course,
Hmm.
it was a very difficult time. And what I was doing, I was just lying on a sofa, don't do anything, don't sleep, don't eat, whatever, just watching TV. I remember I was watching Dr. House, you know, the American series, Dr. House.
Mm-mm.
It's about medical professionals. It's you can check it out later.
Mm.
Very how to say, cynical doctor. And because my sense of humor is similar to that, so I was watching it. It was interesting.
Okay.
But there are few things that stuck with me, and I think that's really helped me when I was at a very very low point. They were talking about diagnosis, and when people were saying, "Oh, this person doesn't deserve cancer or something that happened to them." And he said one thing, because we all talk about, or why I deserve this, or maybe I did something in my previous life, you know, or I'm such a good person, I don't deserve it. So Dr. House said one very good phrase: people don't get what they deserve, people just get what they get.
Mm.
Just let that sink in.
Wow.
It just there, it just happened. It's not like you deserved it. It's not like it was planned for you to have it. I'm sure there is a bigger plan, but just for a second, just think about that. It just happened. There is nothing that you could have done. There's nothing that you can do now, but it just happened. Not because you deserve it.
Yeah.
It just happened. It could be someone else, but it was you and it just happened. It wasn't like meant to follow you.
Mm.
So for me, it took so much pressure out, because like if you think that, yeah, it's not because you're a bad person, it's not because you've done something bad, it's not about your ancestors killed a dinosaur, you know, things like that. It just happened without any
Mhm.
reason.
Mhm. So I do want to add something to that
Yeah.
because, I do agree. When you're unaware, right, of the signs of what a toxic relationship is, and
Hmm.
certainly if you've, as we already stated, children that grow up and witness it and then they repeat the same behaviors, then you don't know, right? But when you get into a place of awareness and consciousness, now you do know. And it is
Hmm.
up to you to protect yourself. And when we talked about accountability, right, set your boundaries, set your expectations. And when your intuition is telling you something, your gut feeling, you need to believe her. You
Hmm.
need to believe her because she's telling you for a reason. I know it was plenty of times I ignored that, right?
Hmm.
And that still does not give anybody the right to put their hands on you or to treat you in a bad way. However, if you take your power and control back over your life by setting those boundaries, by knowing what the red flags are, by listening to your intuition, your gut feeling, and following it, and not putting yourself in situations where you're like, uh oh, something doesn't feel right, don't proceed in that relationship. Believe yourself, trust yourself. You know better than anybody what that looks like, especially if you've already gone through it. See, I didn't
Hmm.
listen. I didn't listen to my intuition. I did not listen to my gut. I saw red flags and I thought I was a superhero.
Hmm.
And I'm not. Not in that way anyway. So you can't change grown people. Okay? Stop trying to be the savior and trying to save people and help people. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Find someone who meets your standards, meets your
Hmm.
expectations. And the way to call forth that person is to put it in the atmosphere, in the universe, and to call it forth. Define the kind of person you want. Stop dwelling on the kind of person you don't want. What you focus
Mhm.
on grows. And that's what you were speaking to earlier, Derry. You don't want to focus on the past in that way. However, you do want to do an assessment, right? When you talked
Mhm.
about the gap analysis, you're looking at failure as a way to get better, not to stay there and say, oh, I'm a
Mhm.
failure. I suck. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. No, it's not that. It's okay. This happened. What should I do next time to prevent this from happening? So for
Mhm.
me, and I think everybody is setting those boundaries and those standards in your life. Because once you do that, people don't meet that. You just cut them out right from the beginning. You don't even indulge in that kind of relationship because you
Don't
know this
entertain it.
person.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, don't entertain it because they don't meet your standards. And I tell you, it's working so much better for me now that I've done that than whatever I did before.
Mhm. About you were saying, rightfully saying, Alicia, about thinking that I'm a failure and so on. Don't forget that when you're in abusive relationship, especially emotional abuse, well, basically emotional, physical, yes, that's similar. The abuser will tell you that you are not worthy, that
Hmm.
no one likes you, no one will ever love you, no one will ever accept you. That you're the, I'm only here to take you in, and you should be thankful, and so on, so on.
Hmm.
And that tactic is very, very, it's working. It's very powerful. It changes the way you think about yourself, which is really, really dangerous. And
Yeah.
that is why there are so many women, men that been through abuse that are still unfortunately there because they believe in what the abuser is saying.
Yes. Yes.
Whatever they tell you, it's a lie. You are worthy. You are powerful. People will love you. There are 8 billion, like, just think logically, try to think logically. 8 billion people in the world. What, you just think couple of more people than your abuser will like you? Of course they
Mm.
will. So just statistically, it's impossible. So
Yes.
please do not believe the lies the abuser is telling you. And if you hear things like that, get out.
Yes.
That's another red flag. He's just already waving it in front of your face, and it's time to run.
Yeah. Anytime you feel uncomfortable,
Hmm.
insecure in a relationship, you feel like you have to walk on eggshells or, anything like that, red flags. Red
Hmm.
flags. Because this is what Daria just described as narcissistic behavior, and it's narcissistic abuse, meaning that person does not care anything about you at all. They're going to tell you whatever they need to tell you to maintain power and control over you, and as long as you believe it, they have power over you. The moment you stop believing it, then they've lost that power and control over you. So it only takes them to control your mind, right? And
Hmm.
that's where it starts. So don't believe it. You don't have to believe it. You are beautiful and you are strong and you are powerful as you are, and you don't need to be dependent on anybody. And that's why it's important to start looking at what can you do, right, to
Hmm.
contribute to this world, right? What's your purpose? What is your true purpose? And when you start walking in your purpose and in your calling, no one can take that away from you. Because now you're
Hmm.
doing something that you're passionate about. You're doing something because you're good at it and you love it. And you're meant to serve and become more and be more and do more and give more. And when you see it like that, right? Start thinking about what you're passionate about and how you can give and serve others. All of that failure, all of that unworthiness, and all of that lack of value, that's going to go away. Because once you start seeing that whatever your gifts and talents are helping people, it's going to change your
Hmm.
mindset. It's going to have
Hmm.
a huge shift in the way you see yourself.
Hmm. Well, it wasn't there in the first place. It was just your
Yeah,
abuser trying to make you believe that this is who you are. And as you
exactly.
said, Alaysha, the words are so powerful. They can change the way you think about yourself. So why not use it the same way what abuser does? Abuser says you're not worthy to your brain, to your mind, and you say the opposite. You make your mind believe what you tell and not the abuser. That's why they're saying that our mindset is a powerful tool. You tell the mind you are not worthy, it will believe it. But you tell the mind that, you're a warrior queen and you're becoming a warrior queen,
That's right.
right?
Yes,
See? So you need to tell yourself only positive things. Love yourself and take care of yourself. Create a relationship with yourself first and then go into other relationships.
that's right.
I don't
Yeah,
want to keep you for long, Alaysha. So if you want to wrap it up, uh,
yeah, absolutely. And again, just, you asked about what I'm creating in this world. And one of
yeah,
the things that I'm creating is my Power Start program, just to get people, it's a 6-week program, just to get people started, to find purpose, to be able to overcome those limiting beliefs and negative self-doubt and that negative talk about yourself. The W is the worthy and finding value in yourself and what gifts you can bring to this world. The E is really managing the emotions, right? And that energy that we talked about earlier. And the R is the good old restoration, restoring relationships and going into that journey of freedom for forgiveness. So it's my Power Start program. And again, it's a 6-week program where people can just get started to learn about who they are and create the foundation for what it takes to become who they're meant to be. So I'm so excited about that.
great, great. Congratulations on the new program coming up. I will put details below. Alicia will send me details so you will see it in description. And if you're interested, you can always connect with Alicia and go with the program.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having me, Daria, on the
It's
coaching
my
couch.
pleasure.
It has been a wonderful experience, as always, talking to you and your audience. And again, listen, just believe in yourself, trust in yourself. If you're in a situation, um, don't stay. Don't stay in a situation where someone's hurting you. That's not love. That's cruelty, and that's abuse, and that's violence. So come out of that and join our 1 million strong warrior women survivors thriving, so that you can get the support that you need. So we're here for you. Thank you so much.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll keep in touch.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
Alicia. Bye.